Hi, I'm Ron Lewis from Uper75 Golf Channel on YouTube. I started my YouTube channel on May 11th of 2025, and so actually I've had this channel for about 14 months now. So I'm working hard on it. I've had all kinds of trouble with computers and I never was a camera person. I never did videos or pictures or anything ever in my life, and so YouTube, getting videos on and all this stuff, and with all this computer work, it was just so hard for me. And I'm just getting stuff together now after 14 months. Anyway, that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about a serious problem that I've seen in my lifetime. When I am 76 years old now. My birthday's in December, and I started this channel when I was 75, and when I was I was born and raised. I was brought up in a little town called Paradise, Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula, eastern Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I grew up on the banks of Whitefish Bay of Lake Superior, right across from Janky's Bar, or whose ever bar it was at the time. My parents owned a 27-unit motel and 9 cabins, and that's where I lived all my youth. It was there. But during that time, when I was 5 or 6 years old, I contracted eczema and rheumatic fever, all within probably a year. I don't know the exact dates I got each one, but if you would ask, so I was about 5 or 6 years old when this happened. So I'll bet if you would ask most people back then, or people that live now, what do you think would be the most danger to your life, eczema or rheumatic fever? I think most people would say, well, rheumatic fever would be the most dangerous because it attacks the heart. But anyway, so 5 or 6 years old, I got both these diseases, and by the time I was 10, my eczema was so bad, my parents were afraid the doctors would cut my legs off. That's how bad my eczema was. The rheumatic fever gave me a heart murmur, but other than that, I was doctoring with Dr. I think his name was Lyman. Anyway, Dr. McBride in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and he was giving me penicillin shots I don't know how often I got the penicillin shots. But anyway, the rheumatic fever was it wasn't doing me any damage at the time. I had a heart murmur, but other than that, I was doing okay with the rheumatic fever. But the eczema, by the way, we called it eczema back in 1956 or whatever. We called it eczema, but a lot of people now call it eczema. eczema, I think, is what they call it today. But anyway, like I said, by the time I was 10 years old, my parents thought the doctors might decide to cut my legs off. So at that time, there was no salves, no cream, nothing available. My parents went all over and tried to find something to help, and there was nothing available back in 1956 or 55 or 56. There was nothing available, or 1960. There was nothing available to help with eczema or eczema. So anyway, they decided to make an appointment with me at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and go out and see if they could find something to help me. And so they made an appointment for me, and I got out of school, and I'm not sure how long we were there. I know it was probably at least a week we were out there, Rochester, Minnesota. And at that time, there weren't no little Mayo clinics all over the country. This was it. Rochester, Minnesota was the Mayo Clinic. So that's where we went. My dad decided, my parents decided that's where they wanted me to go. So anyway, we got there, and while they were testing me to see what they could do to produce some kind of salve or something to help me with my eczema. And while we were there, the doctors looked at me. They knew I had rheumatic fever when I was young, and they told my parents they were going to ask my permission to test me for heart disease. So they did that, and my parents asked me if I would give them permission to test me for heart disease. And I said yes, I would. So they took me in this operating room and strapped me down on my back, and they, without any anesthetic, they stuck this big needle in my heart. And I thought it felt like your chest is caving in, you know, when they do that. I mean, especially with no anesthetic. It feels like your heart's caving in. And it was very, very hard, and I went through that. But something very beneficial come out of it, because they decided that I did not have heart disease. I did have a heart murmur, but I did not have heart disease. So that was a great part of the trip. Well, one of the great parts of the trip. So in the meantime, they were trying to come up with some kind of a cream or salve that would help my eczema go away. And they did come up with a cream or a salve. It was a white salve, and they come up with it to take home and take to my local pharmacies, and the pharmacies would make this cream and put on my wherever I had the eczema and make it go away. So anyway, they did develop the salve, and but when I got home, I would have to before I put the salve on, I would get the salve from a pharmacy, but before I put the salve on, I would need to mix white vinegar and water together and heat it. Get it really as hot as I could stand it. I would get the vinegar, white vinegar and hot water as hot as I could stand it, and I would take like washcloths or small towels or whatever, and soak them in this white vinegar and hot water, and wrap them around my legs or wherever it needed wrapping. And I would have to lay there until the towel cooled off, and then I put another hot one on. And the intention of that was to suck the poison out of the eczema. And then after that, I did that, and my skin was dry, I was to put this salve on that they developed, and I was to wrap it, all the places I put it on with saran wrap. That was the deal. I had to wrap it with saran wrap, and so that was the formula they gave me at the Mayo Clinic. And it worked to some degree. It did work. For years I had to do that. And that was the only solution that we could find for years when I was young. And I'm sure this cost my parents thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. You know, the Mayo Clinic was very expensive at that time, and I'm sure they still are. But they were the brains, you know. They were the brains of everybody. Everybody loved the Mayo Clinic. So anyway, I'm 76 years old now. So I dealt with this for 70 years. 70 years since I was 5 or 6 years old. I've dealt with eczema, and rheumatic fever. The rheumatic fever tended to be the short part of it, because when I was rejected for the military. I tried to join the military in 1967, and they rejected me. The story I heard in those days, they would not accept anybody who had rheumatic fever, especially somebody who had a heart murmur. They would not risk, because they were afraid they would have to pay out money later if something happened to you. That was what the rumors I heard. And anyway, so I was rejected by the military, and over my lifetime, when I was 16 years old, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But I lifted weights when I was 16 years old, I lifted weights in my own home. I lifted for a year straight, and I got really strong, and I was stronger than heck. I was 170 pounds of solid muscle by the time I was 18. But then I quit. I didn't do any more weightlifting the rest of my life, and I did go to work construction. I worked hard jobs, and I worked hard jobs all my life. So nothing serious happened to me, to my heart, since that time when I was little. The doctors here in my local town, a local city that I live in, tell me that my chest my problems from rheumatic fever are gone. They're not there anymore. I don't have a heart murmur anymore, and so I'm in good health, they tell me. And also the eczema, I very seldom have a bout with rheumatic fever anymore. I mean with eczema or eczema anymore. I had one maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I had a little problem on my back. The back and the legs were always a very bad problem for me. For eczema, I get really bad on my back and my legs.